Hi, my name is Daryl and welcome to Safe Living. Today I'm going to be talking about a report that I stumbled on in my searching the internet. And out of this entire report, there's something that I thought, in one of the sections that was extremely important. And it really talked about the funding of all the branches of the government for older adults and adults with disabilities, the federal programs that are provided. So what I've done is I've taken this information, trying to break it down further. So this is really what we're going to be covering today. So let's get going. So first of all, one of the things that I'd like to discuss is who is the GAO? I'm going to be reading from quite a bit of these slides because there was just too much information and I can't memorize this. So please excuse me as my eyes are moving back and forth. But the GAO is an independent agency in the legislative branch that helps Congress fulfill its legislative and oversight responsibilities. They audit federal agencies and programs to assess how well they are working and their fiscal performance. The information is used to improve the government and to educate a lot of other departments within the U.S. government and outside of the government, because it clearly educated me. And they do hundreds of reports a year. So again, as I stated, this is an extremely important report. They report to the congressional committees. This QR code will take you to the report, and it's the older adults and adults with disabilities. Federal programs provide support for preventing falls, but program reach is limited. And it's GAO Report 22-105276, July of 2022. So as I said, this report, as far as I'm concerned, is a treasure map. It doesn't provide us exactly where everything is. So I've spent about 18 hours going through this report and summarizing some key areas that I think are going to help, whether it's caregivers, whether it's people with disability, whether it's nonprofit organizations that are looking to get funding from the government if they're not aware. But again, it can help a lot of people. So just realize it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of research, and it's going to take us direction to navigate through this data. But hopefully in the end of this journey, you will be able to find some of the resources that are available for your projects at home. I think it's important that I summarize a couple of things from the previous presentation that I gave. So if you didn't see my YouTube video, this is the QR code to it. So if you take a picture of it, it'll take you right to there. But the government statistics and trends, I did a presentation that was called Aging Population, Disability, and Disability Types. I'm going to cover 3 slides out of this presentation before we get into the detail, because I think it's really important. In the presentation that I gave, I talked about a report that was issued by the CDC, and the QR code again will take you directly there. But 61 million adults in the United States live with some form of disability. So 26% of adults 18 plus in the United States have some type of disability. And when we look at the disability types, this is the functional disabilities that are currently out there, in which the 26%, so they would fall into one of these categories. I'm not going to get into the detail of this, but the most important thing is, how do we go and get funding to help us make changes to our home that's going to cover all these type of functional disabilities? And that's really what my series is going to be about. So this is a slide that I did not cover in my last presentation. It was there, but I just really didn't want to do it because at that point in time, I didn't think I had enough information that was going to help anybody. But when we look at this data, this really talks about the poverty level of people with disabilities. And in this table, QR code will take you directly to here. But this talks about civilians with disabilities, ages 18 to 64. So if we looked in 2019, out of the 20 million people plus with disabilities, 5.2 million of them were in poverty. So that's almost 26% of the disabled population, adult population, under the age of 65 living with a disability, compared to people without a disability in the same category is only 11.4%. Still too high as far as I'm concerned for the poverty level of the United States. But so it's just important that we understand that people with a disability even have a harder time to be able to modify their homes and get the tools that they need to make their lives easier and more functional. And trying to provide information that can help them get funding to help them, I think is critical. One out of every 4 people in the United States have a disability. So for the audience, right? So whether you're a caregiver, a family, a friend, a medical provider, some type of nonprofit organization that's trying to get funding to help support your local community, I think this information is going to be extremely beneficial. So let's get going with this. So let's talk about the fast facts quick. This came from the GAO report. They reported that the CDC reports fall were the leading cause of death from unintentional injury among adults, older adults. This is from 2020. 9 federal programs specifically aim to help prevent falls or improve accessibility for older adults or adults with disability. They do so providing home safety assessments, ramp exercise programs, and more, but the programs need to share more information with each other. This here is our treasure map that I just talked about. If we know what these 9 branches are and where all this money goes out to all these organizations, then hopefully it's going to help us get the resources that we need. The GAO also found that adults with disabilities between ages of 45 and 59 reported fall injuries at a higher rate than those 60 and up. However, the CDC analysis of the data on the falls focuses on older adults. To me, again, the GAO is doing this because they see some oversight issues in terms of the way the CDC is reporting the data. The CDC is unbelievable in terms of what resources they have available to you or I, any individual that wants to go to these websites and pull up this data. If you started breaking it down by age, you'd be able to do this. And the advantage of what the GAO has done for us is they have done all the analysis and they are providing this data for us. So, I mean, like I said, very valuable information. The GAO also said we recommend looking at broader data on falls and sharing information better. We move out of the way. And lastly, some federal programs help prevent falls for older adults with disabilities. So the word is some. It's important that we understand 3 definitions that we're going to be talking about out of this report. This is a summary of what is in this report, but the font is too small, so I'm going to sort of summarize it. Definition of terms. The first one is evidence-based fall prevention. Interventions that have demonstrated to be effective through outcome effectiveness evaluation, improving the health and well-being, or reducing disability and or injury among older adults with disabilities, for which research results have been published in peer-reviewed journals and that were carried out at the community level with fidelity to the published research at least once before. Really, evidence-based fall prevention is, to summarize, my interpretation of this is if there's a program out there that the government deems is worthy through peer journal reviews, medical journals, whatever, and they believe that it helps people with injuries or disabilities and helps them reduce their issues, then this falls under evidence-based fall prevention. And examples of that are attending an exercise class to enhance mobility and strength and receiving advice on safe and non-slip footwear. In my previous presentation about statistics and trends, all this stuff is covered, so you can get more information from there. The next definition that we're going to discuss is home assessment. And you're going to hear me talking about this all the time because it's such an important part of it. But a home safety evaluation that assesses the potential hazards or risks in a home, how the individual functions in their home environment, and factors that may hinder or prevent independent living. This is usually done most of the time by occupational therapists. They're the ones that are going to your home and doing this. So whether it's an OT or a PT, these are the type of people that do it. Interventions may include recommending changes or modifications that assist the individual in living safely and independently at home, and identify safety hazards such as poor lighting, loose rugs, and any recommended changes. So this is an extremely important benefit that the government outlines. Then the third is home modifications. Changes to make a home environment safer to avoid potential hazard and to support the individual in operating effectively and independently in home. Such interventions may include structural modifications, examples being widening doorways, installing ramps, adding grab bars. Non-structural modifications could improve lighting, clearing walkways. Adaptive equipment could be shower chairs, motion sensors, lights, things like that. So we're going to be talking about these three terms throughout the presentation. The next thing we're going to talk about is the treasure map, right? This is the map that I have found with inside of this GAO document, which is the 9 government programs that are out there that provide funding. And now, how do we find that funding to capture those 3 definitions that we just discussed? This one slide here, I truly believe, is the treasure map for funding for the 9 federal programs that are designed to provide falls and preventions, home assessment, home modifications, right? So this is where all the money from the federal government is going into these programs, okay? My goal is that I'm going to be able to provide you more detailed information. They don't tell us any more than this. All I had to do is I've been going back and searching the Department of Health and Human Services, ACL, and then looking for the PPHF program and then doing research on that. Then I would do my research on the Older Americans Act Title 3D Preventive Health Services, do my research on that. So what I'm going to do is summarize what I have found in my research. And I'm going to quickly highlight what A means on this chart. A is, according to program officials, home assessment and modification services can be provided if they meet the guidelines of evidence-based fall prevention right here, but for the A, but generally these services are not provided here. And then the same thing with home modifications. The B means provides a checklist for individuals conduct home assessments, but does not provide professional assessments. That's what this is here. So the CDC has 2 programs, My Mobility and Steady, which I talked about all the time. This is an amazing program. They provide documentation that they will give to your doctors, your care providers, physical therapists, anybody, loved ones, and they can teach you how to do your own assessment, but they will not have anybody come out and do this. So the CDC will educate, but not do it. And then C down here under the Veterans Affairs, under C, the footnotes here are program officials noted they incorporate certain evidence-based fall prevention practices, such as evidence-based educational activities. Additionally, clinical interventions and programs serving patients cared for by the Veterans and Health Association were not within their scope. So with D, right here in this, the footnote D, all these programs, the specially adapted housing program and VR&E housing adaption grants also serve active duty service members who have been determined to meet eligibility requirements. So we're going to get into the detail and break it down a little bit further. So this is what I have found. So as I said before, we're breaking this down by the terms and the definition. So evidence-based fall prevention. It's a lot of information here, as I said. And all these QR codes are going to take you to every one of these areas. So one thing that I found out was the ACL, the OAA Title III, primarily is for grants to state, local agencies, and nonprofits. So if you go to this website and you start to do your research, like I said, it's a treasure trove of information. It'll tell nonprofit organizations how do you apply for funding for you to be able to provide services. So my community, the Catholic Archdiocese, has a program in my community, in my county, that does grab bars. I'm not saying that they would be eligible or wouldn't be eligible, but they could easily go to this website and see how to apply for a grant to be able to provide more services to people. The ACL's Title III Prevention Health Service Program is primarily for grants to state, local agencies, and nonprofit organizations. So if you take a picture of this QR code, this is going to take you directly there. And there is a treasure trove of information there. So whether you're somebody that's even running a nonprofit and wants to try to apply for some grant money, this is the place to go. If you're someone like me who has family with people with disabilities, I went in here and found out for 2022 and 2021 who was given all the grant money. Now, that's where you go and apply for funding and to try to get some funding for some projects, right? Elder Care Locator. This is not in this report. This is now the stuff that I've put together. Elder Care Locator, the ACL search tool, okay? This is made by ACL. They're the ones that are funding all the grants. They created a search tool that if you take a picture of this QR code, you type in your zip code, and this will list all the different agencies that are out there. They're not making this easy for anybody to get the money, and not that you're even guaranteed to get the money. But if you type in your zip code, it's then going to list all the agencies, and they're the people that you want to talk to be able to start getting some of the funds, see if there are any available or the services that are provided. Fall Prevention for Older Adults, NOCA, or again, this is another organization that provides funding for us. Take a picture of here, and this will take you to their website, and the same thing. Just you want to apply for funds. That's their website. Steady Older Adult Fall Prevention, CDC. As I said here, Steady does not provide funding. All they provide is fall-based prevention education. They provide tests. They provide brochures. So CDC has a mobility plan, and this really talks about driving mobility. So there's 2 QR codes here. Absolutely worth taking a look at both of those. And the bottom one here is the Older Adult Home Modification Program, HUD. This QR code, again, is for what they claimed, evidence-based fall prevention. These are some of the benefits that could be provided. I didn't find anything on this website, but again, take a look. I didn't spend that much time. So I'm just hoping to provide you some of the directions on our treasure map as we're trying to navigate through the federal government and the funding programs. So the next one we're going to talk about is home assessment. And this is referred to a home safety assessment. And if you go back and look at my previous videos, my view is anytime you're doing a home modification, this is the first thing that you need to do anyway. One of the first things that you need to do, because, you know, when it comes to understanding the safety of your home, my view is your medical professionals are the only ones out there that really understand your body, your movement, your medical conditions, and they're trained in these areas on identifying hazards within your home and your ability to move and what you need. So home safety assessment to me is a number one priority before you do any home modifications anyway. And because there's a lot of programs that are available medically, and if you can't do it medically, I'll show you some tools that are here that you might be able to do some self-diagnosis of your home with. But again, this is to me so critical in understanding what you need to do with your home. So that being said, we know that 1 in 4 Americans over the age 18 have some form of disability. And we know that 26% of the Americans are in poverty level. So I'm going to make an assumption that at least 26% of the disabled out of the total population have some access to either Medicaid or Medicare. Home safety assessments are available just by asking your primary doctor. And all you really have to say to them is you're at a fall risk. I would highly recommend that you check with your medical doctor, whether you're covered by Medicare, Medicaid or not, right? And have a home safety assessment done. Elder locator at the ACL. So when we look at now, where is their funding available? So the ACL does provide funding. When we went back to that previous map with the what government programs are provided. If you go to the Elder Care Locator ACL, enter in your zip code, you can check your local senior center. You can check your disability. There's a whole disability organization within your county typically. Those are the people that you call and say, look, I'd like to get a home safety assessment if you're not covered by your medical already. And this is the QR code that's going to have somebody do a home safety assessment. If you're going to be watching our channel, I'm going to be getting into a lot of home modification projects. I'm certified in 2 areas of home modification. One is through the National Home Builders Association, Certified Aging in Place, and the other one is through Living in Place Institute, which is their CLIP, Certified Living Professional. And what I'm going to be getting into are talking about home modifications. And one of the things that you need to do before you get into all this stuff is you need to understand, like I said, what are your limitations and what needs to be changed in your house. But as we go through this, our channel is going to be about what type of modifications can you make in your home. Just wanted to let that. So if you want to click and subscribe, feel free, but there's a lot more information that's going to be coming out. Rebuilding Together is another great organization. This was intended originally in Washington, D.C., but this QR code is actually a home safety checklist. And I'd highly recommend that you take a look at that. This was not part of the information, but through my searching, I found it. And I thought it was important to bring it together there. Another location that might help with home assessments is Rebuilding Together. This QR code, Rebuilding Together has a lot of local branches. And what I did here is this is when you go to this QR code, you enter in your zip code again. It's going to tell you what the closest Rebuilding Together place is. So another place where you can help get funding to get a home assessment done if your primary medical doctor doesn't do it. So for home modifications, this was the third definition that we talked about. HUD's Veteran Housing Rehabilitation and Modification Pilot Program. These are the names of the programs. So HUD provided $5 million, $1 million to each of these organizations. So this QR code here for HUD is going to take you directly to their website. So if you're looking to get funding, because you're a nonprofit organization, it actually tells you how to do it. I could not find the list of all of the organizations that received grant money from HUD, but this is part of the list of what I found. Okay, so Habitat for Humanity International, this is their corporate headquarters. They were offered $1 million. So if you go to this QR code, this will take you to Habitat's website, and then there look for a local affiliate. And then from there, when you're talking to them, you need to figure out what program you want to ask money from. So the HUD's Veteran Housing Rehabilitation and Modification Pilot Program, you'd want to ask if there's any money available for that or any disability, right? Because they might be getting funds from a lot of different places. Rebuilding Together, Washington, D.C., they received $1 million. That's their website. Coalition for Home Repair, their QR code, this will take you to their website, another $1 million. Habitat for Humanity in Lansing, Michigan received $1 million. So again, these are 2 Habitat for Humanity organizations. And then Family and Community Service Incorporated. And just because these are located in these states doesn't mean they don't have affiliate offices all over the United States. So that summarizes it here. So these are just continued, okay? The VA Home Improvement and Structural Alterations Program, the HISA. This is $6,800 if you're a veteran with a disability that was caused during your time at service. But again, you gotta go to these websites. I am not an expert on this stuff. I'm just digging up information that I'm finding. But the interesting thing that I found is that there's also $2,000 available for non-service disability. My father-in-law, who was a Marine, did not get injured during the war, but he had a disability. If I had known, I could have applied for $2,000 for grant money for home modifications for him with his disability. And you can do that through this program. Specially Adapted Housing Program, the SHA. This is Service Connected Disabilities. This takes you to their website. Veterans Readiness Program and Employment. This takes you to their website. And again, these are for all home modification programs. Housing Adaptive Grants. This is the Specially Adapted Housing Program. The ACL's Evidence-Based Fall Prevention Program actually has money that's allocated towards home modification. So again, if you go back to the Elder Care Locator and you ask the Senior Citizens Community Center or the local disability office within your county and ask about these programs, there might be money available through your state and your county as well. Like I said, I spend hours going through all this data, and I've never found this much information in any one spot. And because the GOA was the one that created this, they're the ones that know where all the funding is, not us. So typically, it's very difficult for us to find this, and that's why I think this information is just so important. When I was going through the GAO report, I found this Appendix 3 document, which I thought was very, very helpful information. And it's really programs which fall prevention, home assessment, or home modification or allowable uses of these funds, okay? So as I said, the low income, people that are in poverty, where do you go to get funding to help you improve your home and improve your life and make modifications so that you can live more independent? The Department of Agriculture provides a very low income housing repair grants or loans. And this is also known as Section 504. So the program's purpose is it provides loans to very low income homeowners to repair, improve, modernize their homes, or grants to elderly, very low income homeowners to improve health and safety hazards. Target population served is very low income homeowners in rural areas, including older adults. How funds can be used: structural home modifications to remove health and safety hazards and make accessibility modifications. So if you're a low income family and you're looking for funding, this is the place to go. Shoot this QR code, and it's going to take you to the website and give you an understanding of the program. And I think this QR code is going to give you the eligibility and then a locator. I was very interesting to find. So I live in New Jersey by the ocean, right? The Bayside, not an agricultural area. And I entered in my zip code, and my town is eligible for this funding. So I was shocked. I expected clearly that we would not be eligible, and we were in terms of the community. But again, very low income. So those people that are at the poverty level, this is where you go. So the next one we're going to talk about is the Department of Health and Human Services. And this is the HHS, Administration for Community Living. Special programs for aging, Title III, Part B, grants for supporting services in senior centers. Provides transportation, in-home services, other support services, informal support providing older Americans and enable them to remain in their homes and communities. Older adults targeted homes with the greatest economic and social needs, and how funds can be used. State agencies and area agencies on aging can determine use of program or funds ranging from activities including evidence-based fall prevention, home modification, and home assessment services. So the next program on aging talks about grants for Indian tribes as well as Native Hawaiians. And again, same thing, promotes the delivery of supporting services, nutritional services to American Indians, Alaskan Natives, Native Hawaiians that are not comparable to the services provided under Title III under the Older Americans Act. So tribal guarantees can determine use of program funds for fall prevention, home modifications. So this QR code will take you to the website and allow you to get an understanding by state, by county, by tribe on what tribal communities can provide for support and services to you. So the next one is the Health and Human Services Centers for Medicare and Medicaid. This one I thought was extremely interesting. So this QR code here is going to take you right over to the Medicare Medicaid site. But it provides opportunities for Medicaid beneficiaries to receive services in their own home or community rather than institutions or isolated settings. Various eligible low-income or medically needy population, including older adults and individuals with disabilities, as determined by each state's Medicare plan authority. Home modifications necessary to ensure health, welfare, safety, enable greater independence, installation of ramps, grab bars are permitted and would include assessments to determine the types of modifications needed, other potentially covered services such as occupational therapy may also aid in fall prevention. So this is where I was saying Medicare is also another great resource. Then Medicare Advantage, same thing, QR codes are going to take you there, provides an all-in-one alternative Medicare, provides an all-in-one alternative to Medicare beneficiaries through Medicare-approved private companies, encompasses Medicare Part A, hospital insurance, Part B, medical insurance, and Part D, Medicare drug plan. Medicare beneficiaries, adults 65 and over with certain types of disability and end of renal disease. Yeah, go through this whole program and see what and if there's anything that could really help you. And then the last one that I thought was interesting was Money Follows the Person Rebalancing demonstration. Increases the use of home community based rather than institutional. So anyway, just go and read these. But this also includes money for home modifications, home assessment, fall prevention, services under Medicaid, and home and community-based services could be covered. So just another area of information that we should be able to go out and search and see if there's anything there. I'm sorry, there were two other areas. So the other two areas that I thought were very interesting is the Department of Housing and Urban Development. So what do you do if you're a renter, right, or a tenant? So the targeted population for these programs is that Section 202 is supportive housing for the elderly program. And this is low-income older adults who are in rental tenants. So this QR code is going to take you to that website. But again, I don't know if this one is designed for the landlord to be able to get funds to make the modifications. But again, take a look at this. And then the Section 811, supportive housing for persons with disabilities, the same thing, right? This one is for elderly. This one is for disabilities. Take a look at those and see if any of this information is helpful. So just to summarize, the GAO, which is the government, so the GAO, the Government Accountability Office, put together this report called Older Adults, Adults with Disabilities. Federal programs provide support for preventing falls, but program reach is limited. This is the report number, the GAO 22-105276, August or July of 2022. As I stated before, I think that this is just a treasure map of how you might be able to go out and find the funds, but you just have to find the right program to land on to get the money that you need. Okay. So I didn't find any other stuff out there. This is the most important document that I've ever seen in terms of funding out there. And I hope it's beneficial to you. I encourage, if you want to subscribe to our channel, we are going to be covering a lot of home modifications that I have done on my own homes and homes for friends, and just showing you some of the things that we've done in our lives to make things easier for us to live safer. So thank you very much for watching. I know this is a lot of information. I'm not an expert in this, so I just hope I gave you some information that you'll be able to start your own research and try to find some of the funding that you might be eligible for. So thank you very much for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye.